All right, guys, welcome back to the Construction Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm Dean Barton. Today's episode, number 33, I believe we're on, all about jack of all trades and a master of none. This is a topic or an expression or a saying that's said all the time in construction. People say it all the time and they sneer their nose down at people as if, why would a plasterer be doing electric? Why would an electrician be doing plumbing? Why would a roofer be doing tiling? Why would a decorator be doing carpentry? Everyone says it all the time. I grew up with it on site a hell of a lot of the times. It's something you'd hear all the time. Everyone's heard it. If you're in the industry, you would have heard this without a doubt. But what's very, very common is people say this on the tools, but then when it actually comes to business, it's going on a hell of a lot. It is going on a hell of a lot how the business is actually being run and the tasks and the way that you actually delegate and deliver specific stuff that needs to happen within a business. But it also happens a hell of a lot more so in the marketing side of your business as well, which is obviously the gateway of getting clients in, which is then turns into sales, which then turns into money. So it's really important to get a really clear picture of, right, what are you specialist as a business? What do you want to be known as? And where do you really want to put your crown on and go, right, we are the guys at this. We own this market. This is what we're really good at. And you become experts. And most importantly, you become specialists at something. If you're not a specialist, you don't earn specialist money. Who earns the most money? It's the specialist. It's the specialist surgeon. It's the specialist dentist. It's the specialist whatever. The specialist is the people that earns the money. So for your business, what I really want you guys to get across in this episode of the podcast is that you want to be a specialist. You do not want to be that jack of all trades, master of none, because otherwise you're always going to be fighting. You're always going to be coming up against battles, which we'll dig into on this podcast. You're never ever going to break through and build something that's really substantial and really solid because you just haven't built up, one, the marketing channels that get you the right clients, but two, you're not going to be able to build the right team around that as well, because if you're always chopping and changing and you do a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of this, you can't build solid structures, systems and processes and solid people within a business if they're being pulled from pillar to post all the time because you're always doing different shit. And just on that, I've done this. I've made these mistakes, so I know what I'm talking about. I've done it on a small level. I did it very, very, very early on when I started my own business, trying to be a pleaser to everyone. 1 minute we can do bathrooms, we can do extensions, we can do refurbs, we can do gardens, we can do driveways, because you just don't know what you're doing. And don't get me wrong, when you very, very first start out, sometimes you have to do a bit of that to find your feet, but I would not recommend it. If you're going to start a business from scratch, start with the goal in mind of who you want to be and what business you want to have. But equally, if you're already in business and you're still cutting about and you're still diving, you're not quite sure what market you want to be in, you need to just step away from a little bit, zoom out and understand, right, what market are you going to own and dominate? Because you can own and dominate any market you like. There's enough work out there. There's always room for someone who's going to be the best company, the best professionalism, the best service, the best quality product. The room is there. We're not reinventing the wheel with construction. The industry is not something new and radical that's changed. New systems come about here and there, but fundamentally, you can build a fantastic business being a painting and decorating company, a carpentry company, an electrical business, a tiling business, an extension business. It doesn't matter. New build homes, whatever. There is enough bigger chunk of the market to be and own and dominate whatever part of that market that you want to be in and what you're good at and what you can really add a lot of value to. So if you are currently a jack of all trades and this is hitting you a little bit and you're going, oh, am I sort of dabbling? Am I trying to do too many things? You've got to think it this way. You can only spend so much time on stuff. So, if you're allocating 10% of your time to one thing, 10% of your time to another thing, and so on, you're only ever going to get 10% out of each thing that you do because you just split, you're being pulled. So if you imagine you're doing that with types of work, you're always having to really think about things because you're doing so many different stuff. Whereas if you do the same stuff over and over again, you get very good at doing that. You know it inside out, like the back of your hand. You get very efficient at it. And you just build up a really good reputation because you're good and efficient and because you just deliver what you say. Your reputation will then carry you forward, and then clients, jobs that you've done, will then do the marketing for you to bring more of them in because there's loads of people saying good stuff about you. Now, if you prioritize, you delegate, and you build a business that supports the right people within it, you can then go as far as your ambition level. Whereas I see a lot of people with high ambitions, but they're still in this rat race and this chug of like, oh well, we do a bit of everything and just take whatever comes up, and you're in a reactive state really, when you just rely on whatever inquiries come in or whatever work opportunities come in, and you're like, oh, should we do this, should we not? You're in a reactive state all the time. And again, made this mistake, we still did this even up to a big level, business doing like 8 figures a year, we still made these mistakes. 90% of the business was a commercially operated business, a commercial works, office fit outs, a lot of stuff for the government, a lot of stuff in prisons. You know, you get a groove on because you know what you're doing. Commercial is very different. It's different materials, it's different systems. You're going from suspended ceilings and computer flooring and partition walls. Whereas if you move into residential, it's all very different, and you're working on obviously someone's house. It's different criteria, it's different stuff. It just works completely different. And we still did this. You know, we had the opportunity to take on some really nice work in Mayfair, doing really nice high-end residential work, even some shop fit outs, so sort of commercial, but very still different within the category that we were in. But that causes so much stress and problems because it's not what you do day to day, even though we're a big company. So I'm saying this to you guys in this episode as well, of like, even at a bigger level, we still made these fucking mistakes. And I look back now, and obviously now with clients that I work with as well and help them with their business, and other businesses that I'm now in, I just don't do that shit anymore. I go, right, who's a client? And we just zone in and focus on one thing. We get really good at that one thing, and you build the whole shit, the whole beast around that, the whole marketing system, the whole team structure, all the processes in the office, because you're just doing and focusing on one thing. And like I say, there is enough out there to build a solid business on one solid fucking thing, okay? So, jack of all trades in business. Let's put it this way. Most people in construction, you started on the tools, so you're very good at that bit. You know that bit, and you steered away from any other stuff on the tools that you don't know, because you're an expert in what you do. So you're an expert in carpentry, you're an expert in electrical, whatever it is. But then when you then decide to go up a level and fill your boots with becoming a business owner, you're going back to school. No one teaches you anything. It's the easiest thing in the world to set up a company, become a director. It's a 2-minute task on Companies House. And you know, you've got a lot of roles and responsibilities of being a director or an owner of a business, and you are literally going back to school. And all the key areas of business, you are actually a jack of all trades, which when you start, you sort of have to be. But when you look at the key areas, you've got marketing, you've got sales, you've got estimation of projects and jobs, you've got project management, you've got quantity surveying and cost control and cost reporting. You've then got invoicing, you've got accounting. Someone's got to bring some sort of vision to the business as well, of where you're going, the direction, the strategies that you do. You've then got staff training, you've got your own training, you've got HR, you've then got investing, which links with accounting and being tax efficient. You've got team building, you've got legal things that might come up, and they do come up. The bigger you get, things will go wrong and you will find yourself in court cases and all sorts of stuff. Health and safety, all these different hats that you've probably likely never ever dealt with before. But even if you've been in business for a couple of years and one of these comes up and you don't know it, you really are thrown in the fucking deep end. And I don't think people really realise that enough or respect that enough, as what the weight comes with owning a business. And if you don't know it, you're likely going to fuck it up. But it's just such a hard place to be in when you start. So what I recommend is that from the very ground zero, understand your strengths, and we'll dig into this as we go in the podcast, and stick to what you're good at, and then you recruit around what you're not good at. Now, obviously, when you start on your own, it is all on you. Like, that is what it is. And I think actually it's quite good to learn a bit about most stuff in a business. I think that's what makes a good business person. You need to know a bit about everything, but most importantly, you get the right people to then do those bits for you. Because if you don't know anything about it, if you don't know anything about the accounting, the invoicing, the project management, or how you cost jobs and all that sort of stuff, you are then at risk of having the wool pulled over your eyes, and someone taking the piss out of you. So if you know enough that you need to know, but then you've got people around you, as you grow, this is what you want to build as a business, because when it's just all on you, it's all on you, and you are at risk, because if something happens to you, you're out of business. The mid-level, once you get to a bit of a high level in business, you then recruit managers. people to manage certain stuff. You might recruit a contract manager, you might recruit like a head of accounts or an admin person as you start growing and sprawling. That's like your mid-level. The higher level, you go another level above that. You then have directors on board. So you might have a sales director, you might have a commercial director, you might have a operations director, and it's just that bigger level that are then managing people below that. And then the toppest level in the UK structure is like the C-level people. So you've got the chief executive officer, you've got the chief marketing officer, and the chief health and safety officer, whatever. It depends on the size of the business, how big you get. But this is one thing that really pisses me off. It's just something that really niggles me, is when you see that someone's like a one-person company and they call themselves the founder and the CEO. And it's like, don't try and bullshit people. Do you think people are that fucking stupid to realise that you're not a CEO of a big, massive fucking corporation? It's, you own a business. Like, stop trying to be, I'm all for, pushing it and being ambitious, and that's what you want to be. But I think it's just my personal thing. I think you just sound like a bit of a dick when you're a founder and it's a one-man band and you've got £3.50 coming in a day. It just doesn't make fucking sense. But anyway, I'll fucking shoot off on that. But then if we look at marketing, because marketing is actually the gateway to all business. Marketing is actually customers in the door. So I thought it'd be really good and handy to actually look at that as a level as well. And what a lot of people do is trying to market to everyone. And if you market to everyone, you market to no one. It's a very crowded space. The world is crowded. Social media is very crowded. TV advertisements very crowded. Magazine advertisements very crowded. You need to dominate one area and one space. And what I mean by that is a lot of companies, it's very common. It's like, we do any type of work, no job too small. We'll do anything. We'll do a bit of this, we'll do a bit of that. We'll do a refurb, we'll do a re-roof, we'll do an extension, we'll do a fucking driveway. Again, the mistakes that I made, it's very difficult to market that and actually build a presence in a market of, we're the best at this. We own this one particular field. Like, we're the best at driveways, we're the best at new build houses. That's what we fucking do. You want to own your market so that you attract the right clients that you want, and you can market specifically to them so that you can get them. If you just don't have a defined sort of niche, if you like, the market that you want, you're just never going to build something really tangible and worth money. Because what I think is that most people operate out of fear. So it's just whatever inquiries come in, it's great. Oh, great, we've got an inquiry for a job. We've never done that before, but we'll do it. We'll make it work. A bit of that attitude is good because it pushes you on to do bigger stuff. But if it's it's outside of what you're trying to do and what you're trying to build, it's more of a distraction. It's a temporary fix to a problem that's going to keep recurring. Because if you're constantly relying on just whatever comes in and what comes up, you're always going to be in that state. You're never going to grow a business. At some point, you've got to just draw a line in the sand and go, right, what brand are we actually fucking building here? Like, what brand are we building? What company do we want it to be? And what area do we want to own? And you just don't have a system to bring in work. That's a massive problem, because when you're also trying to do all types of different work, it's really hard to build a team around that. It's really hard. And again, this is going back to looking back at some of the frustrations and stressful challenges we have. Is that you can have a project manager that's really good on one job, but another one, it completely frazzles them because they don't really know what they're doing. If you're trying to do really complicated stuff and you've never done it before, you've got that ignorance and that learning curve that you've got to make because you've never done it before. And again, yes, it's good to push yourself and things a little bit out of your comfort zone. Maybe it's a slightly bigger job than what you used to. But when you are going from extremes like we did, 1 minute you're building a warehouse, the next minute you're doing a warehouse fit out, and the next minute you're doing a high-end interior fit out in central London, it's different jobs, it's different stuff. You've got different trades overlay stuff. And obviously, when you do high-end boutique custom stuff, it's all in the detail, so it takes a million times longer. There's a lot of interaction between different trades and how everything all fits, how it all works, all the finishes. There's a lot more complicated stuff to worry about, which I won't bore you with, but in terms of like disabled access and the slip ratings on tiles in a commercial premises and the fucking building regs, all sorts of stuff. There is a million things to it. If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to end up in a fizz and chasing your tail the whole time. So I think it's really important just to narrow down that market of what you want. Because like I say, there is enough of each element of work to go around. You've just got to be very good at 1, attracting it, 2, winning it, and then 3, delivering it. But if you try and do it in the reverse order and try and deliver stuff and it's just a shit show of just a mix and match of stuff, it's always going to be a massive challenge. So with that being said, I've got a few points that I think will really help you guys out. Is understand your zone of genius. So in number one, your zone of genius, what work do you want? That's the first level. What work do you want? What business do you want to build? What do you want to dominate as a market? And then secondly, what's your zone of genius for you as the owner, for the entrepreneur, the businessman? This is why a lot of people have partnerships, is that different people bring different stuff to the table. And I've done this before on podcasts about partnerships where they go wrong, is that you're actually both the same people, you've both got the same skill set. It doesn't work, it's pointless, it's a waste of time. Whereas if you've got partnerships with the right people that bring a different skill set to the table, different zones of genius, then you can grow a business a lot quicker and it'll be a lot smarter and it'll be a lot nicer journey to have, trust me. So understand your own zone of genius. Are you really good at the sales bit? Are you really good at the delivery bit? Are you really good at the team building bit? Where's your biggest gaps? And you want to identify that as early as you can and go, right, how could you plug that gap? Because ideally that's the first hire you want to make. And as you grow a business and it gets bigger in business, this is why people bring people in as directors and there's different types of deals done, because it's a strategic move that plugs a massive gap in the business, and it just makes fucking sense because you've got the right people in the right seats. And this is what you want to be thinking about all the time, is going, okay, well, if your zone of genius is, let's say, sales, and you're not very good at delivery, you're really going to need a contracts manager as soon as you can. Someone to hand stuff to who's an executor that will just get on with the stuff. But you've got to be aware that you need to bring in enough sales to pay for that person. But equally, if you're the other way around, if you're good at more delivery and you're not great at the sales bit and the marketing bit, you've got a fucking huge problem, because if you don't really need work, you're not going to grow a business. So you really have to then look at the options of, right, okay, a marketing agency, but then who's going to deal with the sales, and plug in that gap. And obviously you've got to push yourself, you've got to get the ball rolling and do enough to get the business going. But most of you listening to this, you're already in business, you're up and running and you're rolling. But that's even actually more of a harder decision, that when you've started building a business, you're 3, 5, maybe even 10 years in, it's hard to actually let go of different elements of the business and go, right, if we're really going to build something sustainable, what bits do I actually need to let go of for the greater good of the business, for the greater good of getting ahead, and actually letting someone else take control of a certain element of the business, whether it's the marketing, the sales, the strategy, whatever it is, so that you can focus on what you are really good at. But that will be your biggest, most pivotal unlocks in a business, is when you actually just sit down and work that bit out and go, well, I'm really fucking good at this. Let me just stick to this fucking bit and let's fill the gaps around it. And that is what grows big businesses. And this is why businesses on the outside might seem that are growing a lot quicker than yours in comparison. You take one company and it can scale massively in 5-10 years time, and the other company just stagnates and just does okay, but just survives over 10 years. And the reason is the right people in the right seats and a collective effort go into it, because no one man can do absolutely everything. There is a massive team behind them, or there's key people in place that are along the way that actually made it all happen a lot easier and smarter, and really actually shares the burden as well, because it's very lonely running your own business on your own. When it's just you and you're trying to do everything and you're not actually that good at particular stuff, it stresses you out. It's hard. It weighs you down when you're trying to figure shit out that for the next person it's easy for them. It's like water off a duck's back, because they know exactly what they're doing, and it's just getting over that own little hurdle yourself. But once you just understand your own zone of genius and just own it, it's a lot easier. So you do that with yourself and your own skill sets, but then you do it with the business as well and go, right, what's our zone of genius? What market are we going after? Are we a commercial decorators, or are we a residential decorators? Are we a house extension company, or are we a warehouse extension company? What company are you? And own that fucking market. Doesn't matter what it is. Honestly, guys, you could be a kitchen fitter, you could be an electrical company, you can be a plumbing company. It makes no difference. There is a big enough a market out there to own one particular area, and that's what you do. And this, going back to the marketing thing quickly, is where you see a lot of building companies, 1 minute they're putting up on social media they've done a bathroom, the next minute they're putting up they've done a kitchen, the next minute they're putting up they've done a re-roof on someone, the next minute they've done a driveway. It doesn't really convey that you're that good to a customer. Like, honestly, it's a bit like if you go to a restaurant and the menu is one of the sticky menus, it's a massive menu, and they've got burgers, they've got curry, they've got Chinese, they've got fish and chips, they've got Italian, they've got everything, absolutely everything you want. You don't go to the best restaurants and there's all the options. If you want the best of the best, you go to the best Indian that you know and it's an Indian menu. You go to the best Italian restaurant and it's an Italian menu. It's weird, it doesn't make sense. And it's just not the best quality produce of stuff. It just doesn't happen, does it? So you don't want that to happen in your business as well, when you're just trying to be a jack of all trades but master of none, because customers are seeing that as well. So anything that you put out, all of your marketing needs to reflect what business it is that you want to build, and the relationships you build need to reflect that as well. But look, if you want to be small and you want to stay doing it all, it's highly stressful. I wouldn't recommend it. There's low leverage to that, and really there's no light at the end of the tunnel. You know, I don't recommend that whatsoever. The quicker you can get the right people around you and build a team, the easier your life will be. You know, and having the right people in the right positions is what it's all about. And it's, again, you can link that to something like sport. You can take one fantastic player. Let's say you've got the best up front. Let's say you've got your Ronaldos, but your midfield is absolute dog shit. Your defence is dog shit, and your goal is nowhere near the goal. It's not going to be hard to beat that team. Whereas it's going to be very hard to beat the team that's got the best up front, the best midfield, the best defence, and a 9-foot goalie with 15-foot fucking span on his arms. Nothing's getting through that goal. That's how you want to think about your business, and that's what I mean about zone of genius. You know what position you play in, and you want to fill those gaps in around that. It's going to make life a lot easier, so you're not the jack of all trades and the master of none. It sounds common sense saying this, but when people listening to it, they're like, yeah, that's true, that makes sense, because we all do it, we've all done it. Like I said, I have done this in the past, and I've learned the lesson. Don't fucking do it. You can't do everything. You just can't. You can achieve a lot, you can achieve anything you want, but you can't achieve everything you want. You can't do everything you want. You've got to pick and own your lane. So the next thing to really think about is that when you are building a team, recruitment is one of the hardest things. And the reason it's really hard is really because a lot of people don't know how to recruit. So when you are a jack of all trades and you haven't finessed stuff, you haven't built up a really good solid system of repetition. You know, just repetition is what's really good for businesses. It's really good for in the gym as well. It's the repetitions that gets the result and gets the work. So you want repetition in a business. If you bring people in, even if you bring good people into a business and everything's chaos, 1 minute you're doing this, the next minute you're doing that, there's no set structures and procedures and things are just fucking organised. There's not many people with a capacity that can just pick up that ball and run with it. Most people, even if they're professional, like I say, they will come into that chaotic environment and go, what's the point in this? Because they can go and get a job for a bigger, better business that's run a lot slicker. Why would they want all the anguish, the responsibility and the stress of that? Because if they wanted that, they'd start their own business. People in employment want to come into, right, this is your job, this is the expectation, this is how it works, and this is how we monitor performance. That's what an employee wants. You, a business owner, you don't want that. You want to build your own ship. But if you want to build your own ship, you've got to build it properly and own it and tackle all this stuff that I'm talking about to build a system and a place where employees want to work. If you don't do that, it's never going to work. And again, we've made this fucking mistake. We made these mistakes many, many times. I even had one guy we employed, he come in, he did a day, next day didn't come back. And on paper, he was the perfect person. I had a second person, they did 3 hours, went on a morning break, fucked off. Said, what the fuck is this? It was chaos. It was absolutely chaos. And we looked at it ignorantly as, oh, what a wimp, he hasn't got it. I thought it'd be better than that. We looked at it that it was his fault. And actually now on reflection, it was our fault. It was absolutely our fault. We were trying to just ram people in. The induction was basically, there's the kitchen, there's the toilet, there's the office. This is how it works. Off you go. There's your email. Crack on. That is the most laziest, most ridiculous way to try and build a business. And it's our fault. And I own that 1,000,000% now that we got that wrong. We got that fucking wrong. You have to provide the things that employees want. And they want security, order, system, rules to follow. It's hell to an entrepreneur to listen to all that, because that's not how we live. An entrepreneur wants to basically do what the fuck they want, when they want, with who they want. So they build a business and a system that can provide that lifestyle for them. But unless you do all this stuff, you'll never build that business to a place where you can have all that. So you've got to go through the work and the hard shift to be able to do that, and just not put unnecessary pressure on your people, because pressure cracks people. A little bit of pressure is good when you've got deadlines to hit and you've got targets to hit. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean create a woolly environment that's fucking soft and no one's got to do anything. A bit of the right pressure is good for performance, but high pressure all the time, stress, chaos, and then you end up booting off at them because they haven't done it right and they haven't done it how you thought it would be. That's what creates just really bad situations, and people don't want to work for you. So you cannot be doing that. So to reflect on this, you can build whatever business you want by advertising and marketing to one type of client. So if it's men and women between 30s and 40s, because they've got more disposable income, they're a good client, it's the type of work you want to do, and you do extensions, for example, and you build your whole brand around that. Maybe it's new build homes, that's what you target when you want, and it might be 50 and 60-year-old because they're slightly older, and all your marketing is around building new build homes. You don't then start posting about a fucking gazebo you built in someone's fucking back garden, because that's giving the wrong message to the clientele and the audience that you want. One product, one type of person, and you can scale that business up to your first million. You can then scale that up to your first 10 million a year as well, and you can keep going. You don't need to be this business that does 300 grand in one division, 400 grand in the other division, and 200 grand in the other division, and you've got 3 different spinning ships of stuff going on and chaos, when you could just focus on one and build one solid fucking thing that's right, it works, and it's a conveyor belted system. And that's the way to look at it. Don't look at you're trying to make money out of a business. Look at it, you're trying to build a business that's a system and it's repeatable, that constantly pumps you out money, and it grows over time because you're just getting really good at it, you're getting better at it, you're getting more referrals, you're getting more work, you're getting better staff. It all just works in a total circle. So that's the attitude that you guys want to have for your business. If you're not doing that, this is what you need to do now, is step away from things and go, right, how can you apply what I'm saying here to your business? And what bits can you refine to just keep growing and keep growing that beast so that you keep doing the same stuff? Look at the big companies out there. All of the big brands, they built really big businesses once, and then they've adapted and added other stuff to it once they were really successful at one other market. If you look at the big guys, someone like a Virgin, he built a really strong, solid business in records first. That was doing multi millions at one thing. Then he moved into all the other different bits he got, and the airline and our space and all sorts of stuff. Didn't do 200 grand in one business and then start another division or another angle or another different partnership with someone else doing something completely different and tried to grow. And I think that's where people go wrong, because a common thing said is, oh, okay, really successful people that are really wealthy, they've got multiple streams of income. That is true. But to begin with, they had one solid one first that was bringing them and pumping them out money. Then they moved on to others. And that's the step that people miss. That is the step people miss. You build one solid vehicle first, you reinvest back into that vehicle to keep giving you more and more and more. Then you diversify, then you go on to other stuff, and then you move forward. But you can't do that without doing that first bit first. So one product, one service that you do, one type of client, and fucking just nail it and own it. And you can scale that to probably beyond what your ambition level is right now. So that's what you need to do. So hope it's been useful, guys. That is it for this episode. All I ask, if you like this episode, please share it on Instagram, tag me in it, and I will share you back. And I'll see you on next